FYI, if you weren't aware, this is going to be heavily spoilery. Probably should have started with that. This is going to be heavily spoilery for this book because we did all read this, and this is going to be a review thing. Okay, all right. What are we doing today? Today, I'm making a YouTube video on stream. So this is going to be weird. It's either going to be weird for stream, or it's going to be weird for YouTube, or it's going to be weird for both, because I don't know how to balance it. But what we're doing today is I have been meaning to do YouTube videos for our book club books, and I'm incredibly lazy, and I haven't. Because I don't like making YouTube videos. They take a very long time. I don't like video editing. It's a whole process. And like, if I'm already going to be streaming anyway, why don't I just record that? So here we are. We're going to try this out today. So our book for February, I feel like I said book weird. Our book for February was An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green, as voted on by all of you. It took us 2 rounds of voting to narrow that one down. March took us 3, and then I still had to break the tie. I feel like you guys just make ties on purpose now. But then you also like to get mad at me for, like, overlord picking things when you have created the response, the circumstance that makes me make that decision. So I'm getting off topic. Anyway, An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. I don't know how to do a review. I barely know how to write a review, much less talk about a review. I don't know how this is going to go. This is going to be a thing. It's just doing a verbal book report. I mean, you're not wrong, but... All right, so this for me... Oh, just kidding. This book, I took a while to get into this. I've had this on my list of what I wanted to read for so long, just because I love Hank Green. And I know that they're different people, but they get conflated all the time. But, like, it must suck when your brother is a super famous writer and you're also super famous, and then you do some writing and then you guys just get compared all the time. Like, that's gotta suck. But I really like John Green, who's Hank Green's brother. I really like his books. And it's hard to separate that. You know, when they've, like, created an online identity that's so close to each other with Vlogbrothers. It's hard to separate that. So, like, in my head, I was like, I really like John Green's books. So I want to read Hank Green's books, even though they're totally separate people. They're very separate people who write very different books. Although you can definitely tell in the language, I think that they're, if not, you can tell that they grew up together. You can tell that they think somewhat similarly or they speak similarly. I find a lot of similarities, at least in, like, sort of the cadence of dialogue that they have, which I really enjoy. Like, I really like that. But this one took me a while to get into. I feel like I was, like, at least halfway through the book before it really grabbed me, and I was, like, feeling it. And I was like, okay, so now this is a page turner, and I'm not having to, like, make myself keep going. But I feel like this is gonna be one of those where, like, I rate things differently after I read a sequel. So right now, as I finished reading it, I feel like I gave this a 3.5 stars out of 5, like 3.5 stars out of 5, and it's heavily dependent on the sequel, if that goes up or down. The pacing in this was whack. It was very much whack. You are correct. And I feel like I spent the first, like, quarter of this book really heavily going, okay, I get it. This was written by, like, a YouTuber or somebody who was heavily influenced by their YouTube career, their content creator career. Like, I don't know what it is, but it just, you know, I was like, I get it. Like, you have a lot of experience on YouTube. Is talking so much about content creation, which I guess is the point. Like, that's not, like, a bad thing on the book. Maybe that's a personal preference thing, because, like, it is a very large part of the book. It's like it's a sci-fi novel about a content creator who finds an alien, or somebody who finds an alien and because of that becomes a content creator. And so much of it is so heavily weighted on that content creation. And that was kind of the part of it that I really wasn't feeling so much. I really wanted the sci-fi alien riddles, puzzles stuff, and a little bit less of the content creation drama stuff, is how I feel like. If you like the second book, you'll trick yourself into liking this one more. It's not even necessarily about, like, tricking myself into liking it more. It's that if I like the second one more, if I can see that things that maybe I didn't love about the first book played out really well in the sequel, or if a sequel builds on an original novel really well, then I can go back and look at this and be like, all right, I see where it's going, and now I like it more. I think I did that with From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout, I feel like I gave From Blood and Ash like a 3.5, 3 stars, and I thought the book was like really predictable, and it was a little like iffy, and like, I don't know, it was just a little cliche, and I didn't really love it. And then I read the second book, fucking loved it, and now I'm like, I like that first book more now, because I really like this, and I like how the characters go, so I don't know. I feel like that's a thing that some people do, where like if you like the second or third book more, like you like the first book more. Is that a thing? Anyway, the content creator aspect of the book was the biggest turnoff for you. It really was. It really was. I would have liked more alien, more sci-fi, more grape jelly, more hands running across LA. Where did the thing, like, I would like to see something from the aspect of the hand, from the point of view of the hand. That thing had to make its way from LA to New York, right? Because it was in LA, and then it ran away, and then it shows up in her bedroom in New York. Like, a month later? Not even? FYI, if you weren't aware, this is going to be heavily spoilery. Probably should have started with that. This is going to be heavily spoilery for this book, because we did all read this, and this is going to be a review thing. Totally depends on the series. I love book 2 and 3 of ACOTAR, but don't like 1. Book 1 sucks! A Court of Thorns and Roses sucks, and I will hold on to that to my grave. I read that book, and I literally put it away, and I was like, this is what everybody's obsessed with. And then I read book 2, and that book is fucking phenomenal. But it did not make book 1 any better. That book sucks. That book sucks! I got very off topic, but that was, I feel like I have to get that off my chest every time it comes up. Book 1 of the ACOTAR series fucking sucks, and then the rest of the series is much better. But yeah, so 3.5 stars, really liked the sci-fi stuff, really didn't love the content. I mean, the content creator stuff made a good background. I feel like it would have been better if it was a bit of the other way around, of like the content creator aspect being the background to the alien stuff rather than the alien stuff being the background to the content creator aspect. Which I guess, now that I say it out loud, makes sense that it is the way that he wrote it, because it is a story about April May. It's her story that just happens to be happening in this, you know, in what's going on, and the Carls are really just the catalyst for her life, so like it makes sense that it's more about the content stuff, but like, I wish it was more about the aliens. I wish it was more about the aliens. I hope there's more about the aliens in the second book. I really enjoyed all the stuff about the dream, and the Psalm, and I really liked, oh my god, what's her girlfriend's name? Why am I blanking? I've read like 3 books since I read this. Maya, thank you. I wanted to say Maul. I've been thinking about too much other stuff. Maya, yes, I fucking love Maya so much. I love Maya so much. She was the best. I love Maya. I love Andy. I love, her assistant, who I'm blanking on now as well. You thought this book was non-fiction? Mari, no, this is an alien robot book. It's a giant alien robot book. It's a book about giant alien robots, or giant robot aliens. It's a whole thing. I absolutely would have loved to see this book from Maya's perspective as well. That would have been so good. Like the story of like your girlfriend finding this and then going completely off the deep end. And then you just start figuring all of it out while she goes crazy online. This is why you didn't read it, because you thought it was nonfiction. Mari, look me in the eyes right now. Look me in the eyes. I don't read nonfiction. I don't read nonfiction. I read for escapism. I don't want to read about the world we live in. Fuck the world we live in. Who wants that? Nah. I read sci-fi and fantasy. Sometimes contemporary. Not very much. It's really just John Green. It's the only contemporary that I read. Robin, thank you. You know what? I honestly was like, at first I was like, I hope she bangs Robin because I really like Robin. And then I was like, no, I hope she does not bang Robin because I really like Robin. I don't need that for him. I don't need that for him. He deserves better. You know, I really like Robin. He was great. I love him. So there's like all this stuff. The stuff that I'm looking forward to in the sequel is going to be like the character reconciliations. Like April has a lot to make up for, and I feel like by the end of this book, she really knows that, and she realizes that she went off the fucking deep end, and she became this person that she never wanted to be, and that she, like, explicitly says early on that she doesn't want to become. And, like, I feel like I hope there's a lot of, like, reconciliation and growth from her in the second book, but also, like, a lot more fucking aliens. Like, I want more about the aliens. I would like them. to be more about the aliens, and also less about the Defenders. I hope they're done. I hope they're over, mostly because I just hate them, not because they're poorly written. I just hate them as people. But yeah, the Defenders are absolutely, I was dying because this was written in, 2016, I think, or 2018 is what Steven mentioned up above. Like, this was written in 2018, but all I could do the whole time I was reading about the Defenders was find the parallels with QAnon. They're fucking QAnon! The Defenders are QAnon, and Peter Petrowicki is, like, the public face. You can't even call him Q, but, yeah, Peter Petrowicki is just, like, the public face of QAnon. Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. And, like, I knew from the very moment that her publicist or agent or whatever decided that she needed to just be gay, that it didn't work for her image for her to be bi. She's like, no, you can't be bi. Like, it's gonna confuse people. They're not gonna like it. So we're just gonna say you're gay. Like, I fucking knew as soon as she said that, I was like, that's gonna come to bite us in the ass. That is gonna be a thing later on. And it was so stupid. And it was this, like, dichotomy of, like, reading it and hating it and being like, this is so dumb. It doesn't make any sense to bring this up. Like, this doesn't, like, it doesn't make anything, like, it doesn't make any sense for the debate they're having or the argument that they're having, but then at the same time knowing that's exactly how the fuck it would go down. Like, you know that's how it would work, and the fact that it doesn't matter was, like, the point. Oh my god. Peter Petrowicki was a really good depiction of, like, a super right-wing political pundit. That was a thing. Jen Putnam was playing both sides of the field. That was, like, one of the things that made me... That probably was the thing that shocked me the most. That probably got the biggest reaction of shock out of me, was finding out that she was also his agent. Like, that, I audibly gasped. That was so much. He definitely is Ben Shapiro. I'm getting big Ben Shapiro vibes. I think the biggest reactions I had were shock at Jen Putnam being his agent as well. Just devastation and knowing it was going to be so bad when she slept with Miranda. That was, oh, God, we got to deal with that in the next book. That's a whole thing. Oh, that's an ugly situation. She should not have done that. That was not good. And then, her face getting ripped off. That was unexpected. Although, it was a clever way to put in, like, content warnings for violence of, like, where she's the one talking to you and she's like, hey, if you don't want to read about violence, like, maybe look away right now. Also, my face got entirely ripped off and then my body burned and it hurt really bad. Woo, that was a thing. Oh, I do not like April. She's not a good person. She, like, wants to be. And then she doesn't really, like, I feel like by the end, she notices what's happened to her and she notices where she's gone entirely too far. And she starts to kind of see that, and I hope a lot of the second book is, like, pulling herself out of that and trying to get rid of it. And it's wild to me that this whole book spans, like, 6 months, maybe? Can you imagine, like, your life changing that much in 6 months? Like, you become this entirely other person so fast, and then immediately have to be like, oh, this is not good. How do I turn this around? And then she learned that Miranda and Andy were almost a thing, and she ruined it because Miranda was always going to choose April May over the camera guy. I was so upset because it's, like, there's lines that hint at her and Andy being, like, something, something, and that was even more of a reason to be pissed off when April slept with her. It's like, you're oblivious to everybody around you, which, again, was the whole point. She didn't care about anybody ever, and, like, it was, oh, man. She was not great before the Carls either, that's true. She just had a much smaller pool of people she was not great for. It was just, and then it was just expounded. There was some stuff in this book that was, like, uncomfortably familiar that I did not like because it hit close to home. And I was like, I don't need this in my life. I don't need this kind of mirror. Please, let's not. But luckily, not a lot, because she does go kind of fucking crazy. I wanted more aliens and more space stuff. And I would have liked more riddles. And I thought that having the riddles be something that other people solved, or that required a lot of people to solve, in the way that Hank wrote those, was a really good way. I think I said it, I think maybe at some point in chat or in Discord, was like a really good way to write in the idea of this greater intelligence creating these crazy riddles without actually having to come up with a lot of those riddles. Like, you only had to make one or two of them, and it was just, like, the first introductory one and then, like, an end one. But, like, that was a really good way to do that. You know, where you, like, wanted to have this overarching worldwide phenomenon, like intellectual riddle stuff, but not actually have to come up with what they were. That was smart. That worked. This book has a lot of Ready Player One vibes for me, where it seemed like the main character was supposed to be this awesome person we were supposed to support, but they were just gatekeeping assholes that were mean to so many people. I think Steven said the same thing at one point in Discord about getting like Ready Player One vibes from this. There were a lot of memes. There was a lot of internet culture in here, which again is things that make sense. Hank makes his career on the internet, like that's part of, it's a big part of his life, so you write what you know, like I get that. It was Zoomer Ready Player One. That's what I remember you saying in Discord. Man, you're not wrong. I've never read nor watched Ready Player One, but you're not wrong. Aww. It's been a while since we had a weird foot person. Can you get that? Thank you. Now for the fun part. We're gonna see how this is gonna go. I'm gonna pull up your guys' reviews. Can't remember what I said, so this will either be great or a freaking nightmare. I haven't read any of these, so we're gonna all experience this for the first time together. But generally how this works is at the end of the month, or like somewhere when people start finishing the book, I'll make a little review survey. Oh, did it chrome out? It did chrome out my nails. My nails are like perfectly chromed. Weird. So, most of us read it as a physical book, but there's a good number of us doing audio. Look at that, quarter of us with an audiobook. See, I didn't put this in the first one, so I'm curious to see how everybody does it. All right, out of 5 stars, let me make this. Woo! Okay. So, out of 5 stars, there was an even split on these. Okay. So 4 stars, 5 people. 5 people gave it 3. Who gave it a 1 star? And 1 5-star. Okay, 1 5-star, 1 1-star, 4 okay. Oh, hang on. I should put... Okay. Let's go. I was torn between 4 and 5, so I think I gave 5 as a gift because Hank is awesome. Actually, I was gonna say I didn't fill this out. I did not fill this out because my review is the preceding part of this video. But I did a 3.5. Would you guys like if I did like half stars in there? Is that a thing that would be great? So yeah, there's a pretty solid split on like whether or not people liked this book. So we had a 5-star, a 4-star, a 1-star, and a 3-star. But overall, wait, what's our average? So we had an average of 3.4, which is about like I gave it 3.5 stars. So solid. Would you reread this book? Half of you said maybe someday. 4 said no, and 2 said yes. So not a lot of for sure rereads on this one. Not a lot of for sure rereads. And did it make you want to read the sequel? Most people, yes. A couple people, no. I'm gonna guess one of those is our 1-star. Steven, are you the 1-star? I'm gonna guess Steven was our 1-star review. I'm gonna put that out there. Okay, so on the story, 3 stars was our biggest. Most people gave it 3 stars. We had one. This is gonna be, okay. That's going to be Steve. I feel like the low one at every point is going to be Steven. So one person gave the story 2 stars, and I'm going to assume that was Steven. 5 stars, 4 stars. Okay, so pretty solid on the story, at least. There was only 1 low review for the story. Characters was a little... No, characters we liked. I assumed characters would be where it fell off. Ooh, it might be writing style. It's going to be writing style where it kind of falls off a little bit. You've never reread a book? What? I can't even deal with it. I can't even deal with it. Who doesn't reread? You're crazy. You're all crazy. Writing style. Oh, okay. So yeah, this is where I thought it might be a little iffier. So 5 stars from 4 people, 4 stars from 4. So overall, still high marks. I'm gonna guess this is Steven every time. No, that one. Is that one you? That one you? I'm gonna find yours specifically just so I can go through what all of yours were. 3 stars. So overall, still pretty high for the writing style. Okay, all right. So how did you really feel about it? Again, these do have names attached to them, but we're not gonna worry about that right now. So enjoyed it. Some stuff was very relatable. Some parts fell flat. A bunch of the social media stuff might not have been needed. I feel like we all felt like that. Other parts hit the mark dead on. Right-wing pundit being a dick. Honestly, yes. Like I feel like we could all collectively hate Peter Petrawicki. I will continue to call you out, Steven, because every time there's a bad review, I know it's you. I know it's you. You're the one that hated this the most. Except for maybe Christy, who didn't finish it. I love delving into the effect of social media on the idea of alien first contact. I also really like the mystery and puzzles of it all. I didn't like how much I hated the main character, made me angry, wasn't a great person. You can definitely have, like, a main character who's a bad person. You can have a bad main character. But, like, I feel like it has to be the kind of character that you love to hate, you know? And April May is just somebody that you just don't like. Like, it's not even a fun, like, you're rooting for the bad guy kind of thing. Like, you just don't like her. She's just not likable in any way. And, like, not even in a fun way. With the author being a social media celebrity, it made total sense that he used the means of social media for the main character to first tell about the events and later to become famous as a result of the events. The sci-fi part, I thought it would be a good, different take on the alien invasion, and the social commentary part with the cultists being xenophobic about aliens and deciding that a teenager needed to die because they didn't agree with them. Thought it was a bit uncomfortable, even if it seems totally plausible. I feel like that's the point, though. Like, it's supposed to be super, like, this is not good. Like, it's definitely, like, it's a little poignant for the time. I do get that. It's very uncomfortable, but, like, very believable. Read John Green's books before, and I felt an absolutely remarkable thing, like Hank, similar to John. Nerdier, more science-y. I liked the mystery aspect. Didn't realize it was going to be so sci-fi. I like the characters. I liked the writing style. It was choppy and informal, but I actually liked how it felt like a real conversation or a giant tweet. It's funny. It's not the best work I've ever read, but I think the message it says about fame and humanity is pretty powerful, and it is what puts the book at 4 stars. I'm sure I'll have more to say as it settles more in my brain and we discuss it more. That's the other thing that I meant to talk about in the top of the video, is that I don't love the point of view of, like, the main character telling the reader the story. Like, breaking the fourth wall and being like, we're having a conversation and I'm telling you this. I don't like that. Not a fan of that. It took me a long time to, like, get comfortable with that in this book, because I didn't want it to be that way. It was, oh god, I don't know why, but something about it just feels almost like cringe. Like, I don't know. I don't like the fourth wall breaking, no. Especially all the time where she's like when she, like, actively, directly addresses you as the reader, like, it takes me out of it. I don't like it. I don't like it. Thought the writing was oh goodness. Oh, was that you? Chester? I thought the writing was well done, made me feel like it was being told accurately from the perspective of a 20-something woman while making it feel somewhat rooted in a reality that wasn't too extreme. That was the other thing. When I opened the first page and realized that a middle-aged or almost middle-aged man was going to be writing about a 20-something queer woman, I had doubts. It ended up fine, but, like, I was very worried in the beginning about what that was going to be like. But it was fine. It was fine. April was a pleasant character to have a story be told through. Whoever this was, you're on your own there. I think you were the only person that thought that. The sci-fi undertone of the story was an interesting through point to move the plot along, but I feel like this book was more of a personal growth tale that just happened to be caused by the Carls. Definitely was. It definitely was a story about April and had the background of, like, sci-fi alien stuff. Interesting enough, but I also think that it wasn't interesting enough to carry a book that was a quarter of this length, let alone as it was just a mystery that would cause new plot opportunities. Not sure if the story was a little bit longer and someone tried to make the story stretch out into a second book, because I thought the story could have ended 1 chapter earlier and would have been content. The ending, it gives me a feeling a publisher or someone trying to milk the stories. I feel like the overarching story will lose its luster if the mysteries are resolved. It makes me less likely to revisit as a consequence. So this one I actually do know, because I watched a couple talks with like Hank on just writing the book, and so he was talking about, like, somebody asked him a question like, how do you know when your book is over? And he was like, well, I know a book is over because, like, I run out of pages. Like, when I'm reading something, that's the last page and that's the end of the book. Like, that's just how it is. So he reached a point where he felt like he had a part where it could end, and then he just kept going. Like, he, like, had more story to tell, but it was like, this is too long. If I keep going, it's too long. I'm gonna need a whole other book. And so it wasn't necessarily, like, it wasn't a publisher thing as far as what he says. It wasn't a publisher thing of, like, we need a 2-book deal. Like, he just was in the middle of writing it, and then he got to a certain point, and he was like, this is too long, and I'm gonna need a second book. So he decided to end it where it ends. The ending is very abrupt, and I feel like this could have been a standalone novel. With the way that it ends, it totally could have been a standalone. Like, I'm glad there's a sequel. Hopefully it's good. I'm glad there's a sequel to, like, keep going. But, like, it could have been a standalone where it ended. It would have been a wild one, but yeah. Self-deprecation already bought the sequel. Self-deprecation of April made her seem more human. I really enjoyed the story, but I liked the characters more. Haven't read many books since college. Same. I think the last series I read was a Sigma Force book, so it'll have to be a media that I compare them to. I'm also sorry because I'm having trouble putting words to how nice it was to see representation in roles that would have been traditionally defined as male with the female characters. In the SF books, Miranda, Jennifer Putnam, and obviously the president would have been men. I get what you're saying. Though the sound I made when they mentioned the president and then say she in the next sentence, I was like, wait, does, you know, it's fiction because they voted for a woman. That's how you know it's a fiction book. It's not real. But I was very excited. It was nice. We'll give it to my niece when she's old enough to appreciate it. Aw. When he was writing it, he assumed that Hillary would win like so many did. He wanted it to be a standalone. I think they abruptly cut it because he had too much content. He just needed a second one. Whole book feels like Hank was writing 2 different books at the same time, gave up, and combined them into one. I definitely see that with how, like, almost separate the sci-fi and the content creation stuff seems sometimes. Like, I totally get that. You have a nice fictional story about an alien life form coming to Earth and testing the humans to work together toward the same goal. And you have a how-to guide on becoming a social media influencer. I agree. Every time they started talking about Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, I just zoned out. It was all so boring and written like someone was making a technical manual about what you should be doing. There were times I fully thought they were going to mention other YouTubers and then casually mention the Greens. There is a Vlogbrothers reference in like the first chapter, the first couple chapters. Reminded me a lot of The Martian. I still want to read that. I love that movie and I haven't read the book. Whole story was great, but the cuts to the lady in charge of the media was just boring and not really needed. Oh, Jennifer? Though the rest of the story was great to a degree, really started giving me Ready Player One vibes by the end, and everyone working in the dream. I can't fully explain why, but I had some feelings like the main group were gatekeeping as well, which really added to the Ready Player. I mean, April definitely was, especially, and like she calls herself on it, like she recognizes it, but like when she wants to be the person that solves the last one, and like she doesn't want to tell anybody about it, and she doesn't want to accept help for it, or like, I totally get that. Lists! So many lists. Anytime something happened, April had to give us a matter-of-fact list of what it was instead of explaining in detail what happened. She said something similar to the Twilight quote of 3 things I knew at once or whatever. It was like the dimples from the last book just added everywhere. The dimples. Oh god. The Carls were nice and I was fully intrigued by them. The puzzles that were given sounded cool. The whole dream world sounds like an amazing place to go. They never touched Carl with uranium and it bothered me. Didn't they say at one point that somebody else did? Or, like, maybe it was just a line that, like, they assumed someone else did at some point, but they never did. I get that. The hand going to the magic castle and then just ending that story arc for a dozen chapters to have the hand appear under her chair without any explanation didn't make sense. Agreed. Nobody seemed worried about the hand. Other than, like, a couple lines where they were like, oh, that was weird that, like, it was in that place, and then nothing. Nothing. I'm supposed to be reading this out loud. For the audiobook, I knew... Oh, is this one yours, Chester? I knew something was going to happen because at the beginning it said that Hank was going to read a part of it. They tell you at the beginning? Bummer. I assumed he would have been the voice of Carl, but I did see in the book club channel a spoiler that all chapters were in April's perspective except the last one. Oh, bummer! I missed that. I'm glad I didn't see that. I knew the last chapter would be Hank's, didn't expect him to be playing Andy. I actually want to hear his chapter. I think there was a great story in the planning process, but the decision to move the plot along via social media posts. Social media posts. And showing the behind the scenes of an influencer really took me out of it. Agreed. Interested in the sequel, but it's not something I want to get anytime soon. The ending was a nice touch with the knock knock. I cried! I did cry. Her name is April May, and nowhere in the book did she introduce herself as someone, and they jokingly say, nice to meet you, April May June. Really missed opportunity. That's another one! So... he put that in as a placeholder. He, like, created her name and most of the characters' names, it sounds like, as placeholders. And it was one of those things where, like, I'm gonna just put this in for now so I can move on. And at the end, I will put in the real character names. And then he wrote the whole book with those names and was like, fuck, this is just their name now and I can't change it. So, and then he said, like, that's how you end up with, like, 2 of the characters' names start with M and 2 of the characters' names start with A's. And, like, this is not something that I would have, like... It's not something that I would have done if I was doing it on purpose, but now I can't change it because I wrote the whole book and that's just their name now. It was just a story about a self-absorbed person continually making, sometimes knowingly, bad decisions and not really growing. That said, I read it on audiobook. Not Stevens. I heard it was presented differently in a book. Lack of page formatting may have made a difference. The cliffhanger ending does make me curious about the next book, but not really craving it. Maya is my favorite character, probably my favorite character because she actually felt real. None of the others seem to be capable of existing in real life for any extended period of time. I don't know. I could see, like, Miranda in real life. I could see Andy in real life. I think we can all see April in real life, unfortunately. I feel like I could see them all, I just wouldn't like them all. But, like, Maya, you're right, is the best one. I think the main thing that put me off was the pacing was slow. The only thing keeping me going was that April's voice was fairly entertaining. That was, like, my most annoying thing right now. Because I did not like her voice, or like the way it was presented. I liked most of our main characters, though I feel like he tried to bring in too many characters sometimes, like Jason or April's family. Jason just, like, slightly existed for, like, 3 sentences in the entire book. Did we ever actually meet Jason? I don't think we ever speak to him. I think he's just there. Like, he lives with Andy, and that's it. Like, we don't... Jason was Andy's roommate. That, like, they live together? Exactly! Who's Jason? Did we... I don't think we ever spoke to him. Anyway... I would have preferred he delved more into the main characters and their relationships. Then I think the characters would have been a bit more dynamic rather than static and almost two-dimensional. The only one that we really got to know was April, so it definitely preferred more character development, like with Robin, Andy. Robin definitely could use more character development, and I hope he gets it in the second book. I hope he's not just, like, out of it now that she's, like, fired him. I hope there's, like, some reconciliation there, and, like, he gets to be more than just her assistant. Found Stevens! We found Steven's review. I think I disliked this book more than January's book. We found Steven's. Couldn't stand their writing style. Hank Green is great at imitating a 20-year-old's writing and speaking, which is also absolutely insufferable. It read like someone's Tumblr from 2016. It's remarkable. Is it absolutely remarkable? Oh, I see what you did, you ass. How much this book was basically Ready Player One, but instead of 80s references, it's just filled with internet memes. Subject matter also turned me off. It was kind of a vapid, navel-gazing look into internet celebrity. That said, the cast of characters was generally well-written. They were just incredibly annoying. You know what? We saved the best for last. We got to yours. Wow. Wow. Knew exactly who that was as soon as that started. Favorite quotes or least favorites? What did the pandas do to you? I can't even remember what that was about anymore. Yeah, human beings are terrible at accepting uncertainty, so when we're ignorant, we make assumptions based on how we imagine the world. And our guess is so obviously correct that other guesses seem at best willful ignorance, and at worst, an attack. Behold the field in which I grow my fucks. Lay thine eyes upon it and see that it is barren. Love it. Honestly, love that. Hello, Rachel. Just because someone has power over you doesn't mean they're going to use it to... I loved this one, too! Just because someone has power over you doesn't mean they're going to use it to hurt you. People who believe that tend to either be people who have been victims of that sort of behavior or people who, if given power, will use it to hurt you. That was also one of the ones that I saved. I also saved that quote. I liked that. Least favorite quotes: every time the author stopped the prose to insert a meme or a tweet. That's fair. That's fair. What did I write down? I know I saved a couple. Yeah, being annoyed by carefully crafted internet personas was part of my carefully crafted internet persona. Yeah, that's like your first, like, oh, okay, April, you're... Okay. Yep, and then I had the just because someone has power over you doesn't mean... And then I did not have a wildly personal one that hurt me right in the chest that nobody needs to know about. But I did see it. But yeah, that's where we're at with An Absolutely Remarkable Thing. Anyway... Thank you guys for hanging out for that. That was a lot of fun. I was recording all of it, so now I get to spend 3 weeks not editing it. Hooray. Let me stop this recording. So this is our March book. This is Lore by Alexandra Bracken. I actually love this cover. The cover is gorgeous regardless, but the usual cover is all white, and I like the contrast with the Owl Crate cover. I'm a big fan. But this is the March book. I haven't read it, so I can't say whether or not I would recommend it, but I'm very excited to read it. I hear good things.